Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on ABS World News at noon. My name is Chinyere Ikoreke. The court-martial of 3 Nigerian officers charged with planning to overthrow the government will resume next month. The court-martial opened on Friday when the defendants appeared before a newly sworn-in judges at a military installation in the country's capital, Abuja. The alleged coup was reportedly due to take place on October 1st, 2025, during the country's Independence Day celebration. Instead, the parade, which the president was expected to attend, was cancelled at the last minute. Authorities initially denied any knowledge of a coup attempt, but in January, the military announced that a number of military officials would face court-martial for plotting to overthrow the government. The trial of 6 civilians charged with treason and terrorism for their alleged role in the plot resumed on Monday in Abuja's Federal High Court. They include a retired Major General and a serving police inspector. All 6 have pleaded not guilty. A 7th suspect, former Bayelsa State Governor Timi Presiva, is accused of helping to conceal the plot and is still at large. Africa's most populous nation, Nigeria, has a long history of military takeovers, having spent much of the most independence period under army rule after gaining independence from the United Kingdom in 1960. Mali's prime minister urged the public to remain calm as he visited some of the injured Saturday's nationwide attack by jihadi and rebel forces, days after a massive coordinated attack that killed the country's defense minister. Life in Mali is returning to relative calm. The offensive saw jihadist fighters join forces with separatist rebels. The near simultaneous attack on Saturday struck around across the country, including the airport of the country's capital, Bamako, the nearby garrison town of Keita, and several northern and central cities such as Kida and Sevare. During a visit to some of these injured in Saturday's attack, General Abdullahi Maja, the Prime Minister of Mali's transitional government, condemned cowardly and barbaric attacks and described them as a bait to destabilize the country. The government has not provided a death toll but said 16 people were injured. The alliance of Al-Qaeda-linked militants and separatists rebel marked a dangerous escalation in what is widely considered one of the world's deadliest regions for extremist violence. Greek Foreign Minister Yeyoris Rafetite received a warm welcome in Tripoli on Monday as he arrived for talks with his Libyan counterpart, Tari Bar. Top of the agenda was the massive rise in migrants reaching Greece from eastern Libya, something Athens wants Tripoli to do more to control. The minister stressed the need for a comprehensive approach based on burden sharing, enhanced security and training program, Libyan officials said. They discussed ways to expand cooperation in strategic sectors, including energy infrastructure and maritime transport. Raphael Petri also met with the head of Libya's recognized national unity government, Abu Hamid Deiba. The two countries have been at loggerheads over maritime border demarcation in the energy-rich waters near the island of Crete. They reaffirmed their commitment to continue constructive dialogue over the issue in line with international law. A standoff continues in the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow entrance to the Persian Gulf through which 1/5 of the world's oil and natural gas is transported, as Iran has limited access and the United States has imposed a blockade on an Iranian port. Iran is willing to lift its restrictions on the Strait of Hormuz without addressing its nuclear ambition, according to 2 regional officials familiar with the proposal who spoke on Monday. Additionally, Iran is requesting that the U.S. lift its blockade on the nation. As part of this proposal, the official, who wished to remain anonymous due to the confidential nature of the discussion, revealed this new proposal conveyed to the United States by Pakistan is unlikely to gain the support of U.S. President Donald Trump, who insisted that Iran's nuclear program must be resolved as part of comprehensive agreements to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and establish a lasting ceasefire. The closure of the strait has intensified pressure on Trump as oil and gasoline prices have surged ahead of critical midterm election, also affecting his Gulf allies who rally on the weight for their oil and gas export. Moreover, the closure had significant repercussions on the global economy, driving up the cost of fertilizer, food, and other essential commodities. A super yacht linked to one of Russian President Vladimir Putin's key allies has sailed through the Strait of Hormuz despite the ongoing blockade of the critical shipping canal. The 142-meter-long Nord luxury boat linked to sanctioned Russian billionaire Alexei Magdovo traveled from Dubai to Muscat, Oman over the weekend, one of a few private vessels to transit through the strait in recent months. Iran has engaged with Russia in high-level talks this week as a standoff with the U.S. over the strait's reopening continues. Approximately one-fifth of global crude oil and liquefied natural gas supplies natural pass through the waterway. Maduro, who has close ties to Putin, is not enlisted as the former owner of the luxury boat. However, Nord records indicate it was registered to a firm owned by his wife in 2022. A Californian man has been charged with attempting to assassinate U.S. President Donald Trump after trying to storm a gala event with weapons on Saturday night. He was carrying a semi-atomic gunfire handgun and a pump-action shotgun and 3 knives as he charged past a security checkpoint at the White House Correspondents Association dinner on Saturday, says prosecutors. The incident has sparked a White House security review. A Secret Service agent was shot but not seriously wounded during the attack at an hotel. The accused faces life imprisonment if found guilty. Dressed in a blue jumpsuit with name tagged, the suspect appeared on calm on Monday's court appearance in the nation's capital. 3 U.S. marshals stood behind him and 1 was at his side while the federal prosecutors handling the case, U.S. Attorney for Washington, Janie Perry, looked on. The suspect allegedly rushed through a security checkpoint 1 floor above the basement venue. In business, a senior management official of the Dangote Group on Monday revealed that the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has been subsidizing the petrol and diesel it sells to the Nigerian market. According to the officials who spoke to our correspondent in confidence due to lack of authorization to speak, the company's 1,200 naira per litre ex-depot price for petrol is below the competitive price in the market, considering the jump in crude prices following the U.S.-Iran war. As a result, Dangote raised its petrol gantry price from 7,774 to 1,200 as of the time of flying this report. The oil price hike also affected diesel and aviation fuel. In the aviation sector, airlines are planning to shut down due to an over 350% rise in Jet A1 prices. Dangote supplies over 90% of the country's aviation fuel need. In sport, Nigeria's under-17 women team, the Flamingos, continue to impress preparation for the 2026 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup qualifier with a commanding 7-0 victory over Nazareth Queen in Abuja, extending their winning momentum in camp. The match, which was originally scheduled for Sunday but eventually held on Monday, saw Nigeria dominate from start to finish with a 2-0 lead into halftime before producing a critical second-half display to complete another emphatic win. The result follows their earlier 6-0 win over Generation Next on Saturday, which underlines strong progress in camp as head coach Hakeem Ishola Basiru continues preparation for the second-round qualifier against Guinea. Remember that you can follow news and programs on ABS from many parts of the world via our social media handles. That's the size of our package this afternoon, as edited by Abuchi Wonzo and the production team. My name is Chinyere Ikoreke. Good afternoon.